G'day everybody, it's Dave from Wing Chun Mind Force. Thought I'd make one of those car videos everyone's doing these days. A few things have been blowing me out and I just have to share them. For quite a while I've been talking about the pelvis floating, as if your pelvis is sort of a bone bowl that's floating on fluid and that you haven't got any legs, and basically your pelvis is holding up your torso and you're floating on this imaginary fluid, but you can actually feel it, and you just turn a little bit, just turn your pelvis a little bit. I think I covered this in my Chum Q video, but you get a really soft, silky feeling. And yesterday I was talking to a friend in the States, and she just started teaching dance, and I don't know whether it's her idea or she got it from another dance instructor, but she started talking about synovial fluid, which is the fluid that runs through your spine and through all your joints, and it's between the joints. And she said dancers think about floating, your joints floating on the synovial fluid and lightening, like lifting up. And I thought, that's exactly the way we think, you know. And suddenly it dawned on me that singing the spine, which is that idea of raising up the spine, surely this idea of the pelvis floating, if you think of each vertebrae floating on its own little pool of water above the other vertebrae, that gives you that lightening feeling, and you know, getting lighter and floating and turning. And it just needs to be the slightest turning, but the feeling, as soon as I think about that, I feel a release through the spine. And that's what you want to look for, but you can't make it happen. The way it should happen is it just happens. You get the right Sung state, that soft state, right mind-body state. So you got to find your way into it to feel that your joints are light and empty. And this floating idea really works for me. And so you imagine each joint right up to the top, it's bearing weight, the same as the pelvis obviously bears all the weight of the torso. But when you think about it, each vertebrae is a bone, but the fluid on top of it and underneath it is bearing the weight of the rest of your body. So as you go further up, the vertebrae actually get smaller because they're not taking so much weight. The ones down the bottom are bigger because they're taking more weight. They're taking the weight of the arms, the torso and the head. And so this is an idea worth thinking about, and it's really changed me. I can feel quite a difference, because my seniors, I've often talked about how Qigong Chu Sheng Tin could manipulate each joint in his spine, and you know, they advise just think of your spine as one unit and turn that, even twisting in Bil Jee, just think of it as one unit. And that's what I've been doing for quite a long time. But now I'm thinking, you know, I can sort of feel each vertebrae floating like a little ball, floating there. And it also occurred to me that Taigong is pretty much that same idea of floating the pelvis, because it's not really nipping your bunghole, so to speak. It's the idea of it being sealed and connecting to the top of your head. But part of it surely is to make the pelvis a sealed thing, like a bowl, and so that it just floats effortlessly. And you've also heard about turning the pelvis, and that you shouldn't do it physically. You shouldn't sort of, you know, like you're humping something. You don't do that. The idea is you just let go and it happens. And that's what happens with a floating ball. We're at a cool local airfield. There's all these light aircraft taking off and landing at the moment. So that's my 2 cents worth for this video. Have a good think about that, because I believe I'm really onto something. That so synovial fluid is a real thing. That's the fluid between your joints, and when you really float, they will start to separate. And I did tell you once that rolling with a very advanced practitioner, we just got into a sort of a trance, and we weren't really rolling in the traditional sense. We were just floating on each other's arms and feeling like an energy ball between the hands. But after quite a while, what happened was I felt the joints really expanding, but it was as if they'd never expanded before, and it just felt so natural. It was like hydraulics, like fluid was sort of pushing them apart, and it was quite a outstanding experience. Okay, so that's me for today. Look after yourself, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. See ya.